Is there a higher status in the afterlife after dying in battle? Now, throughout human history, there have been motivations in many different spiritual and religious systems that say if you die in this way, if you die in battle, you will go to Valhalla. Or perhaps we can classify the Elysian Fields of the ancient Greek idea of dying in battle. The Spartans especially believed that if you died in battle, you would go to the Elysian Fields. Whereas most people would go to the average afterlife of this kind of purgatory between the deepest depths of Hades towards Tartarus and the Elysian Fields. There was this middle ground that most people would go to, according to many ancient Greeks. But those who died in battle gloriously would go to the Elysian Fields. Not to mention necessarily the information we get in the Iliad, which says that Achilles did not go to the Elysian Fields, but that was more to do with, I think, degrees of selfishness that was implied. Now, there are also beliefs, for instance, in the culture, the ancient culture of Japan, the culture of the samurai. Now, if you died in battle in an honorable way, or you committed seppuku and cut your bowels out, these would be considered honorable ways to die. If you died in battle or committed seppuku, you would carry this merit, this honor with you into the afterlife, into the realm of the ancestors. That's not the word the Japanese used, but in essence, it is the realm of the ancestors, and you would have that status because of what you did in this life in the realm of the ancestors. So we'll just say, I'm also butchering these spellings, but it's fine. At least I hope it's fine. Now, going back to Valhalla, there's a few caveats. Men and women both had their own separate Valhallas. The female one, I forget the name of it. The male one in Valhalla was the Hall of Odin, and he picked half of the brave who died in battle, and Freya, she got the other half. And Valkyries would come down and basically divide up one half to Freya, one half to Odin, and these two places aren't necessarily based on gender, but there is kind of like a Valhalla equal to the male Valhalla in regards to the female warriors that Odin brought up, and there was male warriors that went to Freya's hall too. So the genders were kind of divided in both places, or is divided in both places in those realms where people actually wanted to go there and were drawn there as a result after dying in this or that way, in my belief. There was a division of genders, but there was also equality of reward, which you don't see in a lot of other traditions. But decoding all of this is a different topic. What we're talking about here, and I don't want to go too far into just Norse mythology and as far as the different dimensions along Yggdrasil that I believe in, but let's ask some intrinsic questions. I'll go ahead and give you a look at what I have written here. There's a little bit of a glare on one of the words, but that word right there is futile. But let's go over some of these. These are some that I wrote last night and added a few visual cues, maybe to help the visual learners out there. Warriors. Does ritual suicide bring a warrior any good karma and bad karma? More or less. Now, let's say you're a samurai warrior who is about to be captured or killed by the enemy, but you want to keep the honor away from your enemy, so you commit seppuku and basically make the 4 appropriate cuts into your abdomen so your guts spill out, killing you, and then hopefully you have an attendant to slice off your head so that your suffering can end more quickly, which usually there was an attendant to slice off the head of their master, their samurai master, or as a fellow samurai, slicing off the head of a fellow samurai. But anyway, do I believe, as a Hindu and somebody who also, looks up to my Northern European ancestral gods, but mainly I consider myself as Hindu. And the ideas of karma in Hinduism are very much based around compassion, and if you have to kill, then you don't do it for the sake of killing, you do it for the sake of stopping a person who is going to harm or is harming other people, and not necessarily for for, either personal gain or for the enjoyment of it, but very specific circumstances where you had to do your duty and protect humanity by killing that person. That I hold a lot of these Hindu ideas as the guiding lines for my life. So do I believe that, let's say both of these sides in a Japanese clan battle, there's two different samurai clans, and during the samurai age when samurai, were operating in clans and there was a shogun and an emperor, there's kind of loyalty one or the other many times. But anyway, do I think that if you're about to be captured, you're going to be captured, or a rival warrior is going to claim honor for killing you, do I think that committing seppuku will bring you good karma and actually propel you to the afterlife? Because I believe that the ancestral realm does exist, and many Hindus believe the ancestral realm does exist. It's just a lower realm compared to, Swarga, or even especially the higher realms of, the ocean of milk that Vishnu sits upon on the serpent, which is all very symbolic. Or where I've seen that I'm going to go when I die, in the lap of the Divine Mother Kali Ma, this kind of forest of light. Anyway, regardless of all that, do I think that a warrior could gain good karma for that? And that's not a yes or no question. It's very complicated. I think that the bravery and the sticking to one's code, a code that's beyond oneself, having such adherence to a code and holding it be over your pain, over your suffering, and over what a human being would normally do to themselves. I think that kind of bravery, being so committed to that and committing seppuku, would give you good karma in one way. But I think that in a later life, when you come back from the realm of ancestors after you've spent all your bad or good karma, depending on what kind of status you had there, based on what you've done. And I think that samurai didn't take into account, how to deal with innocent people enough. And I think that a lot of samurai would suffer as a result in the realm of the ancestors. I believe the realm of the ancestors does exist, even their realm of the ancestors, but I think that they don't have the code quite right, in my opinion. But regardless, I do think that you could gain good karma by putting a code above yourself. But the bigger issue for the samurai was, so freely and willingly killing innocent people and raping and stuff like that, which is true of the Spartans with their idea of Elysian Fields, and Valhalla for the Vikings. I honestly think that these three realms exist. I don't think that someone exists there forever. They come back here to realize their true self, and I think that a warrior's karma is not resolved through just bravery and battle, but it is resolved through a lesson learned that there's a deeper nature behind things that violence cannot find, violence cannot solve. So I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here, but let's go down the list. Does loyalty to an unjust side bring good karma and bad karma, more or less? Now, when I say unjust side, let's look at a German soldier during World War II, fighting on the side of Adolf Hitler and the Third Reich. Let's say he was in the Wehrmacht, something like that. Basically, the German army, not the SS. But he, his family was a part of the German army. He was a part of the German army. If anybody had to go and fight, he was willing to go and fight for his country. And he had, let's say this Wehrmacht soldier had no interest in hurting innocent people. He had no interest in making people suffer, or when capturing an enemy, executing them. He had no interest in terrible things like that. Let's say that he was a soldier through and through, and he was a warrior through and through, and wanted to fight for his country, but he had no interest in causing unnecessary pain. Now, the Nazis did terrible things that we cannot take back as mankind, and the descendants of the Nazi, the Germans nowadays, I don't think it's all their fault. I think that their ancestors, we shouldn't just lay the blame on them because of what their ancestors did. But, Merkel's even noted as saying, we know what we did, but I don't think that's fair to every German born nowadays. It's like, well, we didn't choose what our ancestors did, but regardless, at that time, this Wehrmacht soldier, probably pronouncing it wrong, is fighting for Hitler and the Nazi regime. But really, he's in the German army, so he's more a part of the German army than he is just devoted to, Hitler's ideology, which was the SS, which was more the SS's job, rather. I think that if he fought, and he fought bravely and didn't hurt any innocent people, even though he fought against the right side, and I believe, the Allies were the right side, I think that he would still get merit for the kind of afterlife he was working towards. And a lot of people in the German army, and not necessarily all the SS, but a lot of people in the German army were indeed Christian. Even a lot of the SS were. So, do I think that he would go to the Christian heaven for a time before coming back here to truly realize that he's a part of God and eventually merging back into God once he reaches enlightenment after, who knows how many lives? I think that, yes, it would gain him merit in the afterlife. It's not necessarily the force you're on the side of as much as it is how you behave and how the circumstances led you to be in that force. And not that, because not everybody, was just so happy about Hitler and then that's why they fought for him. A lot of people were basically pulled into the German army based on circumstance. And then some people were even pulled into doing terrible things that they didn't want to do, but they were afraid of being killed, so they did them. And those people aren't a part of this example, the ones who did terrible things because they're afraid of being killed, because that's a more complicated question. But regardless, let's move on to another point here. Is being a warrior futile? Now, being a warrior, solving things through violence, thinking that you can do good through being a warrior, I think has good and bad karma. Because you're basically saying, okay, I want to fight for my country. You're saying that my country needs to fight. It needs to defend itself. And instead of going into a realm of politics that would be anti-war and trying to make, treaties with people, trying to support peace talks or becoming true neighbors with those you're about to, go to war with, a lot of people go into the army because they believe in this idea of serving one's country. And I think that there's a lot of bravery and a lot of good karma that comes with that. If you're putting your country, your people above yourself, there's a lot of good karma that comes with that. But I also think that more people are more ready to do that than to look for peaceful options, because most people have this underlying fear of the other, of they who are different than us and who want what we have, they who we may have been enemies with before. Maybe we have fought wars against this or that country or this or that religion or political idea before, and this idea of them being the enemy has always been in that person's mind. And that's why circumstance plays such a big part, because we have all of these influences telling us that this is true, that is true, this is the enemy, there's no way we can get to these people. And that's why it's much easier and more common for people to join the army to fight for one's country than it is for them to join, a humanitarian cause to try and end war, because all of these higher up forces and all these societal forces, higher up is in the government and the educational system, are all telling us these are the enemy, and there's a lot of indoctrination there. So I think that it's very brave and very good for a soldier to fight for his country, but I also think that we're too ready to use military options and too ready to basically serve our country through military means. But anyway, let's go ahead and get further down. We're running out of time here. It's kind of hot in my room, by the way. I'm not sure if you noticed. But sweating a little bit. Does violence always bring or doom to repeat karma? Same. Now, I've already gotten into this. The doom to repeat karma I'm talking about is that karma where you try to solve things through violence, or you try to become a part of a section of government like the military to solve things through violence without really looking into to see if you could be of better use in peaceful means, or at least trying to iron out relationships with this country that we are at odds with. This is far ahead of time. Wars might build up, and sometimes they're immediate, but there are organizations that try and support peace within every single nation. So I think that isn't as an obvious option, but it's one that we don't think about quite enough. And I think more of us, I never joined the military, but I think more people join the military than they think of those peaceful options. That's just my opinion. Take it for what it's worth. I was never in the military. Just want to make that clear. Now, also, I'm schizophrenic and taking medication for it, so I kind of wouldn't be allowed. But that's another issue. Alright, so let's go over to this kind of circular chart thing I got going on. Good karma, bad karma. Does good karma and bad karma cancel out? Now, good karma and bad karma, to a lot of Hindus, they have to be experienced separately. You have to have your reward and you have to have your punishment. And a lot of Hindus don't believe that canceling out is possible, that basically a part of your lesson has to be experiencing these two kinds of karma that you've made for yourself. But I think that some of it does cancel out. I feel like if you've learned certain lessons, then those lessons sometimes override other lessons. If you learn that, violence isn't the answer, but it might be necessary at some times, I think that overrides you suffering bad karma from choosing, to fight in a war. If that makes any sense. And the last little point I have here is a soul rewarded and punished, which basically goes into what I was just talking about. And, there's a lot of ways to suffer and experience good karma, suffer bad karma, experience good karma in this world. And then when it comes to the, Valhalla, Elysian Fields, or the realm of the ancestors, for the Vikings, the Greeks, and the Japanese, but also a lot of other, ancient civilizations believed in the realm of the ancestors, still do. But regardless, do these rewards accompany punishment? Like, let's say you get a lot of bad karma and you have this certain amount of time in hell you have to spend, or Narg, or the realm of Nidhogg for the Vikings. Let's say you get a lot of bad karma for that, but then you did a lot of honorable things and died in battle for Valhalla. Do you experience time in both sections? And then that's something that I don't know an answer to. And, I'm basically saying this for each one. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if that you have to spend some time in Valhalla. And, the idea of Valhalla is that you go there and you're going to accompany Odin to the final battle at Ragnarok. But I think that is more symbolic than actual literal, though I do think Valhalla as a dimension exists. But regardless, I think that it is possible that we could spend time in both sections, both parts of, these many dimensions that are kind of lined up, Yggdrasil, if you will. But it's also possible that a lot of these things will cancel out and we'll just stay here. And a lot of pagans and a lot of Asatwar and a lot of, definitely Hindus, Buddhists, many even Greeks, a lot of people don't know that, did believe in reincarnation and do believe in reincarnation. So look that up, definitely, because reincarnation is more of a reoccurring thing than you might think. And there's a lot of civilizations that have believed in it. But regardless, I just wanted to wrap this up, and I hope some of these ideas have been interesting to think about. Once again, I don't know anything absolutely. I don't know, if any of this is true. I mean, I could be completely wrong about everything. These are just my musings. And I hope that my musings have, made you think about these things in a different way. If you haven't thought about them before, I'll give you one more picture of, some of the points I have behind me. These are the 3 points I wrote down last night. We're talking about ritual suicide, loyalty, is being a warrior futile? Does violence always bring bad or doomed to repeat karma? Is the soul rewarded and punished? We talked about Valhalla, the Elysian Fields, realm of the ancestors. So feel free to ask me any questions in the comment section below. I will try to answer them. I try to get to all comments. Hit that thumbs up down there if you like this video at all. It really helps out the channel. And I am on Patreon now. It's patreon.com/darkrealist. Capital D, capital R, and one word. So www.patreon.com/darkrealist. And for as little as $1 a month, you can get personal videos from me that I don't put on YouTube, that have more to do with how I think and personal experiences. I've already added 2 videos of that, and I add my YouTube videos, and I've added an essay already. So for as little as $1 a month, you can always give me more. I would love for you to give me more. You can see those videos that you will not see on YouTube. So please go to Patreon and subscribe to my channel there, and I would very much appreciate it. But regardless, thank all of you for having the patience with me and for accepting these things as something we should think about. So all of you have a great day, and what do you believe?